Inheritance nightmare. My abandoned mom returns for a shocking grab. My earliest memories aren't filled with bedtime stories or cozy family moments. Instead, they're fractured images of my parents' marriage slowly self-destructing, one agonizing fight at a time. My dad, a master of criticism, could always find fault with everything mom did. The dinner was always too salty, the laundry never folded just right, and apparently, she was even teaching me bad habits. Nothing she did was ever good enough. "You're completely useless, Sarah," he would bellow. "Can't you do anything right?" I would cower in my room during these horrific battles, desperately pressing my hands against my ears, trying to block out the sound of my family imploding. After each fight, I would hear mom crying softly in the bathroom, a heartbreaking symphony of despair. This pattern continued year after year, like a relentless storm always threatening to break. Mom, a dedicated stay-at-home mother, had sacrificed her teaching career when I was born, only to be constantly belittled for it. "I provide everything for this family," Dad would sneer. "The least you could do is run a proper household." My 8th birthday was surprisingly peaceful, a fragile truce in the ongoing war. Dad even managed a few smiles, a rare and unsettling occurrence. Looking back now, I realize that peace was the calm before the ultimate storm. The next morning, everything changed. No explanation, just empty drawers in a half-empty closet. Mom was gone. Dad, in a fit of performative outrage, hired private investigators, but it all felt like a hollow show. When the divorce proceedings started, she didn't even bother to show up to court. The judge, with cold indifference, granted Dad full custody and terminated her parental rights. I remember sitting in that sterile courtroom, feeling like a ghost, completely unseen, unheard, and unloved. But she never did. "She's a traitor," he hissed, his face contorted with rage. "We don't need her, we never needed her, but I did need her. I needed my mom to protect me from Dad's volatile temper, from the constant feeling that I was somehow inadequate." That's when Dad decided to hire a nanny. "I can't work and take care of a child," he announced one evening, as if I were some sort of burden. "We need help around here." Enter Maria Chen. She was 26, armed with a degree in early childhood education, and radiated an unsettling sweetness. When she started working for us, I couldn't quite understand what was happening. Dad and Maria would exchange these secretive little smiles when they thought I wasn't looking, like teenagers caught passing notes in class. Maria started staying later and later after Dad got home from work, blurring the lines of her job description. Then, one evening in October, Dad summoned me into his study. Maria was there too, standing next to his desk with this huge, unsettling smile plastered on her face. "I have something important to tell you," Dad announced, his voice strangely formal. "Maria and I are getting married." I remember feeling relieved, honestly. Maria had been so good to me, helping me with my homework, comforting me when I had nightmares. Maybe, just maybe, this was our chance at finally becoming a real family again. "That's great," I managed to stammer out, a desperate hope blossoming in my chest. Maria rushed forward and hugged me, her perfume smelling overwhelmingly of vanilla and flowers. "You'll be so happy, we'll be so happy together." The wedding was small but elegant. I was the flower girl, wearing a pink dress that Maria had helped me pick out. She looked beautiful in her white gown, radiating an almost blinding happiness, and Dad couldn't stop smiling. That was the last day I saw the Maria I thought I knew. It started subtly, a barely perceptible shift in her demeanor. The day after they got back from their honeymoon, I left my backpack in the living room, a harmless oversight. "Pick that up immediately," she snapped, her voice laced with venom. "This isn't a pigsty." I was stunned. Maria had never spoken to me like that before. But that was just the beginning. Suddenly, everything I did was wrong. My bed wasn't made properly. I was too loud when I walked. I didn't say please and thank you enough times. One day, confused and deeply hurt by her complete transformation, I worked up the courage to ask her directly. "Why are you so different now?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "You used to be so nice to me. Before, I was just an employee," she said, her words dripping with disdain. "Now, I'm your stepmother, and when I tell you to do something, there are no questions asked." I ran to Dad's study that evening, tears streaming down my face, desperate for him to intervene, to protect me. I thought he would set things right, but his face turned that dangerous shade of red I remembered from his fights with Mom, a color that always preceded a volcanic eruption. "You're just like your mother," he snarled, his words like acid. "Always complaining, always causing problems. Let me make something very clear. If I hear you saying one more word against Maria to anyone, you'll regret it. Do you understand me?" I nodded, my whole body shaking, completely defeated. That was it. Life became a horrifying minefield of new rules and restrictions. Maria seemed to revel in finding new ways to make my life miserable, each day bringing a fresh wave of torment. Then, She took away the small TV in my room, claiming it was distracting me from my studies. She started controlling what I wore, throwing out my favorite jeans, deeming them inappropriate. She even scheduled my shower times, limiting them to a measly 10 minutes. My only solace came from Grandma Helen, Mom's mother, who visited every few weeks, bringing small, cherished gifts, little pieces of jewelry that Maria couldn't justify taking away because they were family heirlooms. "How are you doing, sweetheart?" Grandma would ask during her visits, her eyes filled with a knowing concern. I could feel Dad's and Maria's eyes on me, burning into me, daring me to speak the truth. "I'm fine, Grandma. Everything's great," I'd lie, forcing a smile that felt like a painful grimace. This charade went on for 3 agonizing years. I learned to live by Maria's twisted rules, to stay quiet, to become invisible. Then, when I was 13, Dad announced some wonderful news. He was ecstatic, practically glowing with pride. He started converting the guest room into a nursery, preparing for their precious daughter. When little Sophie was born, Dad was completely consumed, taking photos of everything she did, documenting every milestone with obsessive fervor. But 6 months into their parental bliss, Maria started complaining, her facade of perfect motherhood beginning to crumble. "I'm so exhausted," she whined, her voice dripping with self-pity. "The baby needs constant attention. I can't even get my nails done anymore." Dad, ever the problem solver, suggested hiring a babysitter. "There are plenty of qualified college students looking for work," he offered, completely oblivious to the simmering resentment beneath Maria's perfectly applied makeup. I watched Maria's face twist into a grimace at the mention of college students. Her hand tightened around her coffee cup, her knuckles turning white. After all, wasn't that exactly how she'd gotten her position in this house? A young, pretty student nanny who ended up becoming the wife. The irony, of course, was completely lost on Dad. "Absolutely not," Maria cut him off, her voice sharp and decisive. Her eyes narrowed as she looked at me across the table, a predatory glint in their depths. "We don't need to hire anyone. We have a perfectly capable babysitter right here." Dad, always eager to please her, readily agreed. "You're right, Elsie can help out with Sophie. It'll be good for her to learn some responsibility." Translation: unpaid childcare. Every day after school, Maria would be waiting by the door, Sophie already in her arms, ready to pawn her off on me. The moment I stepped inside, she'd bark orders. "She's been fed. I have an appointment at the salon." I loved Sophie, but I was 14, struggling to maintain my grades while essentially becoming a full-time nanny. Instead of doing my algebra homework, instead of working on my history project, I was stuck changing diapers and singing lullabies. Maria would breeze in around 6:30, just before Dad got home, carrying takeout containers from expensive restaurants. "I'm exhausted from cooking all day," she'd announce, setting the food on the table with a dramatic sigh, completely oblivious to the exhaustion etched on my own face. I'd be there, still in my school uniform, Sophie on my hip, homework abandoned. One day at school, I couldn't take it anymore. During lunch, I broke down and told my friend Amanda everything about being forced to watch Sophie every day, about not having time for homework, about Maria's constant lies to Dad. "That's not right," Amanda said, her face filled with righteous anger. "My mom works for Child Protective Services. This is exactly the kind of thing she deals with. I should have known better than to trust anyone." The following week, I was sitting at the kitchen table, trying to simultaneously feed Sophie strained peas and read my English assignment, when there was a knock at the door. 3 people in professional attire introduced themselves as representatives from CPS. My heart sank. I told them the truth, laying bare the reality of my life, of my weekly spa appointments. They looked around the house, took notes, and asked me questions about my daily routine, questions that pierced through Maria's carefully constructed facade. Then, they called my father. Dad arrived 20 minutes later, his face a mask of calm that didn't quite reach his eyes. It was the same mask he used to wear before his worst fights with Mom, the one that always preceded a violent explosion. The CPS workers explained their concerns about leaving a 14-year-old in charge of an infant for extended periods. They issued a formal warning about negligent supervision and left their card. The moment they were gone, Dad turned on me, his fury barely contained. "Just like your mother," he hissed, his voice dripping with contempt. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" I didn't mean to. I started to explain, but he cut me off, his face contorted with rage. "Shut up, you're a traitor." Maria came home then, her hair freshly styled, her nails gleaming, radiating an unsettling happiness. Instead of showing concern, she burst into tears, accusing me of being jealous of her relationship with Sophie. The punishment was swift and brutal. "Go to your room, no phone, no computer, no leaving the house except for school for the next month. And if you ever pull something like this again." He didn't finish the threat. He didn't need to. I knew what he was capable of. A week after the CPS incident, I waited until Dad and Maria were asleep. My hands were shaking as I dialed Grandma Helen's number. Grandma, I whispered when she answered, my voice thick with tears, I need help. My voice broke as I told her everything: the punishment, the forced childcare, the constant abuse. She listened quietly, only occasionally making soft sounds of distress. I'll be there tomorrow morning, sweetheart, she said, her voice filled with unwavering resolve. Just hold on. True to her word, Grandma Helen arrived at 9 o'clock. Sharp the next day. She wasn't her usual diplomatic self. She had watched this situation long enough. She announced at Dad and Maria in our living room. I know everything. How you've turned my granddaughter into an unpaid servant. How you've been neglecting her education. How you punish her for speaking the truth. Dad started to protest. I'm taking Elsie to live with me. I've been collecting. You can't just take her. Dad's fluttered. Maybe, she said softly, maybe it would be better for everyone. Wicked focus on Sophie and Elsie would have more opportunities with Hell. Within an hour, he agreed to let me go. Grandma's house was a sanctuary. Located in the wealthy part of town, it had a sweeping driveway, manicured gardens, and an air of quiet elegance. My bedroom was bigger than our entire living room at Dad's house, a symbol of the stark contrast between my past and my present. This is your home now, Grandma said, helping me unpack, her eyes filled with a warmth I hadn't felt in years. You can decorate it however you like. No wonder knew my history. On my 16th birthday, Grandma called me into her study. I've set up a college fund for you. She is Yale, Stanford, wherever you want to go. That was it. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just studying to escape my reality. I was studying for my future, a future that stretched out before me, filled with possibilities. I found the photo album by accident while helping Grandma reorganize her office a month after the conversation about college. When I opened, my heart started racing as I flipped through the pages. There she was at my age, high school graduation. She looks so much like me. The same dark hair, the same smile, even the same way of tilting her head in photos. Grandma, I called out, my voice trembling with sudden hope. Look what I found. Grandma came into the office and froze when she saw what I was holding. Now that I'm living with you, Dad can't stop her from seeing me anymore. She doesn't have to be afraid of him. Elsie, Grandma interrupted softly. There's something you need to know. I should have told you this sooner. Protect me from what? Grandma took a deep breath. The day after your mother left, I knew where she was. I told her she needed to come back for you. I promised to help her financially to support both of you. My hands were shaking now. What did she say? Instead of answering, the email was dated one day after Mom left, and it was short. Mom, I don't want her. I never have. I never loved her. I don't care what happens to her. She's Robert's problem now. I read it again and again, trying to make them say something different, but they remained the same, cold, cruel. Grandma said quiet. I thought someday you might need to know the truth. I closed the photo album slowly. All these years, play too afraid to contact me, but the truth was simpler and far more brutal. She never wanted me at all. The next 2 years were the happiest of my life, making new friends. Every weekend I call Grandma Helen, and during holidays and vacations, tell me everything. Halfway through my sophomore year, Grandma got sick. The doctors discovered stage 4 lung cancer. They gave her 6 months. She fought hard, never losing her dignity or her sharp wit, but the doctors were right. I spent that summer break by her bedside, watching her slip away. She died on a quiet Tuesday morning in August, holding my hand and telling me how proud she was of me. The funeral was well attended. Grandma Helen had been a pillar of the community, and people came from all over to pay their respects. Business associates, charity board members, distant relatives I barely knew, my mother, my father. Not that I expected them to come, asking me to come to his office for the reading of the will. When I arrived, I found someone I hadn't seen in over a decade, my mother. She was with a man who looked about 5 years younger than her. She barely glanced at me when I walked in, though I caught her checking her watch repeatedly as she urged Mr. Patterson to get on with it, at least for her. Grandma had left me her house. My mother received $100,000, her composure finally cracking. Tears streamed down her face. I'm her daughter. I have debts to pay. I need that money. The younger man with her shifted uncomfortably in his chair as she continued to sovereign, claiming she was entitled to more, that it wasn't fair, that she needed help. The next morning, sorting through decades of documents, the doorbell rang around noon. When I opened the door, but the same desperate expression, she walked past me into the foyer. Oh, it's exactly as I remember it. I grew up here. That chip in the marble by the stairs. That's from when I was 7 and dropped my roller skates. Why are you here? She ran her hand along the banister. I miss this place, miss you. We have so much catching up to do, don't you think? Mother and daughter, finally ruined. I almost laughed at the absurdity of. I know I made mistakes, she said. I was young, trapped in a horrible marriage with your father. I wasn't thinking clearly, actually. Sweetie, I was hoping we could help each other out. I'm in a bit of a financial bind right now, I said firmly. You can't live here. Not now, not ever. Her face changed, then the mask of maternal affection slipping. I'm your mother. Elsie, you can't just throw me out on the street. I gave birth to you. You left me with a father you knew was toxic. You never called. She paired slightly but recovered quickly. You don't understand how complicated adult relationships are. If you turn your back on me now, I'll make sure everyone knows what a cruel, heartless daughter you are. I'll tell them how you're leaving your own mother homeless. I walked to the study, retrieved my laptop. Go ahead, tell everyone, and I'll show them this. I don't want her. I never have. I never loved her, I read aloud. She's Robert's problem now. Should I forward this to all those society friends you're so worried about? Post it on social media maybe. The color drained from her face completely. She stood up, grabbing her designer purse. You're just like your father. I'm like my grandmother. She fled the house in a rage, the door slamming behind her. That was 6 months ago. I'm graduating from Princeton next month with honors and business administration. I've already accepted a job offer at a consulting firm in town. My house now. Dad tried to call once, probably after hearing about the inheritance from my mother. I didn't answer. My mother occasionally sends manipulative texts about forgiveness and family obligations. Some people say you can't choose your family, but I disagree. Grandma chose me when my own parents wouldn't. I'm having the house renovated next month. Yesterday I found a letter Grandma had written to me before she died. Remember, she wrote, "You are stronger than you know." She was right. The past is the past and I'm done letting it define my future. So, after hearing everything, do you think I handled the situation correctly? Was I right to cut my mother out of my life completely, especially given her history and her attempts to manipulate me? I'm really curious to hear your perspectives and understand if there's anything I could have done differently, or if you think I made the best possible choices given the circumstances. And I'm open to any advice or insights you might have based on your own experiences or understanding of family dynamics and difficult relationships.